All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are in another Tuesday night, the 99th Tuesday night for Marketing Made Easy. I can't believe that we are here. This is amazing. I just want to give you, the viewer, my tribe, thank you for watching this Tuesday night extravaganza that we've had for this long, and I never really dreamed of it being this long. And I'm not complaining because it's been a dream come true. And I could not do this without my partner in crime, my good buddy, Scott Vogel. Can you believe this? 99 episodes, bro. Thank you for all of your brilliance and commitment for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome, Joey. And it's odd because like Netta wrote 99. Like 99 seems more unrealistic than 100 for some reason.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you for everybody for being here on the lives and the replays and sharing this experience with us. We hope that we've brought you joy and happiness and helping you grow your business and all that over the last, man, 2 years. I can't believe it's been, wow, like 2 years. It just shows you how fast time goes.
It-
I
it-
would never. It doesn't feel like 2 years.
It's just so odd because, yeah, 2 years doing this every single Tuesday. We've never missed a Tuesday
Not at
for
all.
not at all, for nothing. And it goes back to Joey, to everybody listening, whether live or on the replay, that we just did it. We were doing something and we talked about it. You had already started something and you needed somebody to help you, and it just happened.
Yeah.
And it's part and parcel of Atlas and Dream Client Connection, because our relationship developed as a digital relationship, not around the dream client connection. It was more like a dream colleague friend connection, which
Wait, I got to write that down. That's my next program.
one day I want to do something on the digital relationship because it's unlike any other, not the whole dating thing. That's a whole different thing. But in here, like in the dating thing, you put stuff out there and you put your best foot forward and all that. Whereas how our relationship developed into this episode 100 next week was kind of like in the dream client. The dream client's watching you. We were like interacting with each other. It wasn't really, again, there was no ulterior motive. We just were watching each other, commenting on each other, and saying, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. You're like, hey, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. No.
Yeah, I'll give you all the props though. Like it's kind of like it's true that well, we were watching each other, but I wasn't aware of you as
Right.
maybe you were more aware of me. And I'm not
Right.
trying to say I'm better than you, but you were the guy who reached out, which was really cool. And I
Right.
thought, this is awesome. Like, who is this person? And it didn't take very long. It was not even a day, not even 24 hours, because
No.
you just said, hey man, let me know how I can help. And that's just who you are naturally. Like, how do I help you? Where do I need to go to, you
Yeah.
know, whatever, engage more with what you're doing and help you. And I was like, who is this dude? And it was like, wow. And from there, it was like we were just best friends right from that point.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that. So I appreciate you. And I wanted to give you props for that because you were the dude that really started this digital relationship.
Yeah. And again, Joey, it was, no, I wasn't in there watching. I was just
Right.
in there doing what I do. I was in one of the groups we're in together, and I was not marketing any services. I was just providing help because, like you, I watched people doing things and I'm like, it's really so easy. Let me take a look at your copy. Let me just talk to you for a few minutes about, you're totally on the wrong path. And you were offering excellent wisdom in there. And I was like, I might jump on something. And then one day it was just like, hey, and it kind of is similar to the dream client, because
Exactly.
the dream client is doing the same thing, only from a kind of a different lens. They're looking at, I really need this help. I really need this help. Where my lens was, this guy is really helping people like I do.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad you brought this up because this is nowhere close to, well, it might be close to what we're talking about
What
tonight.
are
But
we
I mean,
talking about
well,
anyway?
we'll we'll get into that because I don't want to lose this thought. Uh, this is really brilliant because I want everybody to understand and really drink in what you just said, because not only is it because we're going to talk about growing the business and everything today. And part of that growing the business is not only with dream clients and relationships, but it's also about colleagues and relationships and people who can help you, JVs or partners or whatever you want to call that. And it's so important that not only are the dream clients watching you, but also potential partners, collaborations, things like that, people who are watching you, who align with you, that when you do reach out or you connect and say, listen, I just need somebody who really needs to do video editing. I just wish I knew somebody like that. Or right. And you're along the same lines, and it just
Right.
magically happens because those dream connections are there, and they're
Well,
watching you.
well, again, and adding to that, Joey, is that's where again the relationships come in, because we've had this conversation way back when. If you stand up on top of a mountain and say, "Hey, Atlas is great, Elite is great, DCC is WMC, etc.," it'd be like, well, of course you're going to say it.
Yeah.
I get on and say, "Hey, I've told many people you need to go in and join the club. You need to get into something, whether it's right marketing, whether it's dream client, whether it's Atlas, Elite, or VIP coaching. Get into it and just start the journey there to learning. You don't have to go tell anyone. Somebody's looking for this, it's like, hey. If somebody's looking for this, it's hey. And that's done just because I know you know what I do. The people that we have the relationships with, when you know they're real, and you don't know when someone's going to say something to an audience of your dream client.
Right, and that's part of it too, because there are incentives and relationships and JVs where, hey, if you
Right,
promote this, y'all give you 50% of this or 30
right,
or whatever that is. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying those are bad to do or whatever, but these relationships are true and natural and organic. And it's very rare that is like, hey, dude, can you just do me a favor? Can you go do and promote me over here? That doesn't really happen, and that's the power of it, because it comes from the heart. It comes from, I
right.
really know that this person can help this, who I'm talking to or whatever that is. And I just want to give some shout outs before we continue here.
Sure,
So
go.
um Camilla, thank you so much for this. This is so nice to hear. Thank you for this. We are so appreciative of you just joining us. You've been here for a long time. We appreciate you, appreciate everybody. And this one I don't know, maybe Scott, you know who this is because they're on the
Yeah, that's
Facebooks.
Gail Cassidy.
Dale Cassidy, cool, nice to have you. Thank you for that kind words.
Hello, Gail. I love you.
I said Dale. I'm sorry. It was Gail. I'm sorry.
That's
If I
okay.
said Dale, it was Gail. I heard anyway. Monica, happy 99. Many made 43 of them since I started knowing about it earlier this year. Missed 3 since I've known about it. You've been a really star student. I'll tell you that much, because even with the Wednesday calls, the VIP inner circle, you maybe have missed 3 in the entire year.
Yeah,
So pretty good, and
that's
it's
pretty
amazing. Thank you. She is our resident artist, by the way.
good.
If
Yes,
you're not in the group, let me just give a shout out to that group because
she
I
is the
want to invite
resident
you.
artiste. She creates these unique designs to introduce our Tuesday night shows. And Lorna is shopping and listening.
Amazing. 99 is a soft serve in the UK. Wow, that's so cool. Who is that, Scott?
That's Meta again.
Netta. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Uh, I still have my notifications for you for your talk. Not going to unfollow you guys.
Thanks, Missouri. We appreciate you. That's
Love
the
you.
best testimonial I've ever had. I'm not going to unfollow you. You should take that and use it for a
Yeah,
testimonial.
that's got to be some kind of marketing thing. How can you get people to not unfollow you or
Right.
something like
Not,
that?
not, not unfollow people.
There's the listening.
That's,
Thank you, Lorna. You are the best. And back
that's
at
Gail saying she loves me and loves us back.
there we go. Thank you so much. Today, what I thought, Scott, is we would talk about something that is near and dear to my heart. Everything's near and dear to my heart these days. But as this last year has been, one of those amazing rides, and trying to build the business, not trying to, but doing exactly building the business, and realizing that of all the things that we've heard and we know to be true, or maybe if we don't know it's to be true, we heard that it's always about eliminating and doing less to build more. And This is what I've done in this last year is eliminated things and the whole delegation stuff and all that, which I'm not doing great at. I know you do some of that delegation really, really well, but I wanted to talk about this as because now I'm in, as you know, a couple of different masterminds and coachings and sitting to people that are again that are like 1,000 times more successful. And again, I'm not comparing because that's another big thing that we should talk about too. Is like when you're uh, like where you are and you compare yourself to other people, it kind of puts you down, which is the total wrong thing to do. And I learned that one a long time ago, but that's not the topic of today. What I'm trying to get at is like the gap between someone who's making a million or 10 million as opposed to someone who's making a million as opposed to someone who's making $100,000 or whatever is that they do less. It's the every step of the way they're doing less. And I had a chance to talk to many people that are in the 10 million range. And that was I was like, what's the secret of that thing? And the consensus was we do nothing. And it wasn't to the point of look at how great I am and I'm so fantastic, but they do nothing. Uh, which means they're eliminating everything. And this goes more beyond, the whole delegation thing. But I want to reference, this was inspired also by Dan Sullivan's ABC model. And I want to talk a little bit about that and what your thoughts are. And there's three different places of it. And I wanted to help everyone listening to really understand how important it is to let go of things and whatever those things are. And I'm sure we'll go down a lot of rabbit holes here, but reducing what you're doing to increase your business and increase your revenue, whatever that looks like. So if it's okay with you, I'll give you the three categories and then we can talk a little bit about them and how this is how Dan categorizes them. They are the ABC model is this. A is the
Well, wait,
irritating.
wait, wait. You said if it's okay with me.
Is it
What if
okay?
it's not okay with me? No,
Is it okay with you?
it's okay with me, Joey. Give me the ABC from Dan Sullivan.
All right. The A is irritating things. The B is the okay things, and the C is the fascinating things. And while you write those down, I'm going to give a little bit more love back to the community and tribe. Elisa, great to see you. Love having you here. Thank you for being here. Netta is
Netta,
finally, we finally got Netta's beautiful
Netta
face
got
and name on
identified.
screen. Thank you. Amazing. One of my top goals for 2022 work less, do more. Great. You're going to love this episode then. And what does it mean we do nothing? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that, but it's mainly that they stay in their zone of genius.
Right.
And we're going to talk a lot about that. And Petra's here. Hey, good to see you. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for being here as well. Unique ability covers that as well. Yeah, it's a lot of it is connected with the unique ability, and that's what we're talking about here. Dan is like, how do you stay in your zone of genius? And I'm also going to throw another one out there, which I just was introduced to, which like these simple mindset shifts, like when they happen, at least this is my experience, like they completely rock your world and change the direction and trajectory of your business. And one of them now just happened to me, and it was the difference between zone of genius and zone of excellence. Think about that, zone of genius and zone of excellence. And I'm throwing a lot out here, Scott. So I'll let you take the ball and run with it a little bit here because, dude, I could talk about this all day long.
Well, you got so much out there. You got the ABC, irritating, okay, fascinating, and then you jumped into the zone of genius and the zone of
I
excellence.
know.
I'm like, okay, which
Well,
one?
it's part. Those are kind of part of it. The zone of genius
They are.
and zone of excellence are part of the ABC thingy. I just kind of threw them in there, but yeah,
Well, where do you want to start,
I
Joey?
don't know. You kind of take the ball and run with it. And what are your thoughts first, and then we'll kind of see where this goes.
Well, the ABCs, what's irritating, what's okay, and what's fascinating. And what's irritating, obviously, in answer to some of the questions, is how do I work less and do more? And it's okay. What's irritating? What don't you like to do? What's just like takes up your time? And there's not that. Is this really making me money? Is this really getting me there? And I had a conversation with a colleague, and it was the hesitancy in getting somebody for a couple of $100 a month to do the irritating things. And he wanted to hold on to it. He wanted to keep doing the things that pissed him off, that annoyed him, that every week we would talk and it would be like, and after months, I was like, you don't like doing this. This is irritating you. Why are you doing it? To tackle it, to get it down to nothing, to get your emails down to nothing when somebody else can do it.
Perfect.
The stuff that's okay, and then we'll jump to fascinating. What?
Well, I want to talk about, because you just like, this is the area that I get, I'm stuck in.
Yeah,
I'm sure that
yeah,
a lot of people are stuck in.
yeah,
And it here's the thing. What you brought up was very important for everyone to
yeah,
understand. And it's the fact that when you're doing things that really piss you off, then what you're saying to the universe is that I have no plans to grow.
right.
Think about that.
Yeah,
You're dealing with things that are not your zone of genius, because it pisses you off,
yeah.
and you are just used to them. You're like, well, I can do it. I may as well do it, but you're not growing. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree with that because you're stuck. You're not only stuck physically, you're stuck spiritually, you're
Right.
mentally, emotionally, psychologically, because when you're stuck in those irritating, I don't like doing those things, then what happens is it builds and it's like, God, I don't like doing this to the point where I hate doing this. And the messages that it's sending to us from an emotional, spiritual standpoint is, I don't like doing this, but I'm going to force myself. It's kind of almost like when society looks at people's jobs and careers and they do testing in school, they always look at, okay, Scott, you're really bad at this. Let's work hard on improving this. It's like,
Right. Yeah.
no, don't
Right.
work hard on improving that. Why don't you find out the superpower? What would happen if we found out the superpowers and the geniuses of our children and said, hey, you're a genius when it comes to math. Yeah, you can't read. We'll work on that, but let's take you to advanced calculus thingy so you could become a rocket scientist. And it's kind of the same thing when we engage in what we don't like and what irritates us. And the conversation I had with my colleague was, there was a block that, gosh, it's going to cost me money to hire somebody
Yeah.
when I've been doing it myself. And that's just such a flawed thing. And I suggested, well, try it for 30 days. What's it going to cost you? A few $100? You piss that away on X, Y, and Z. And still, it's tough to make that transition because then you got to find somebody. Then you got to train them to do it your way. Then you got to coach them. Then you got to figure out, well, how do I do this thing called get somebody else to do these? It's not just, hey, go out and hire a VA.
Yeah, okay, and you're right. Like, so, I mean, I've had this block millions of times. I still have it. I'm over the money block thingy, and
Yeah,
as you
yeah,
know, there's two areas of, one is like your business, and uh, you know, let me actually address what you just said first, because my ADD is really bad today, guys. By the way, so you're gonna see it worse than ever, more than usual. So today's been one of those ADD days, and it's actually not bad. I shouldn't phrase it that way. It's been an extreme ADD day for me. Okay, so warning you ahead of time. Uh, what I was gonna say is that you're right about the people when you're trying to teach somebody the thing,
hmm,
and that's a big block. And here's an ADD moment. I remember one of my very first clients. He was with me for 2 years. He was an accountant, and we wanted to grow his business. And this is actually, it's a great teaching moment, because this will tie into what we're talking about here. He was an accountant who wanted to grow his business, and he was trying to get somebody to do some of the other bookkeeping stuff, like whatever it was that was not where his zone of genius of numbers was.
hmm,
And for the entire 2 years that he was coaching with me, every single call was the exact same thing.
yeah,
Okay, dude, like, did you find somebody? Yes, I got him in. I sat with him for a couple of weeks. He was no good, or she was no good, and I fired them. And that happened every single month, the exact same conversation. And for 2 years, he paid me, and he got nowhere. And was it my fault? No, it was because he, first of all, and this is where my point comes back to what I was going to originally say, is he wasn't finding A players.
right.
And when you find A players, going back to what you're saying, is that yes, you have to teach them something, but they can do things 1,000 times better than you can. If you find A players, if you find C players, they're just, okay, whatever, tell me what to do, and they can do it. That's their zone of not even excellence, but that's their thing, right? And I know you're dying to jump in here, right? Go ahead.
No, that's such an important point that you're making. It's so vital because, yeah, you could. It's kind of like, let's jump to copy for a second because we know that well. People are like, well, I can use Jarvis to write copy, or I can hire somebody on Fiverr to write my copy, or I could do this, and it's like, yeah, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get that if you hire that. If you actually pay somebody, think about how much money that you're going to make because you've hired somebody that knows what they're doing, and fill in the blank. I don't care if it's copywriting. I don't care if it's, email, if it's marketing, if it's Facebook. Yeah, you can figure out how to do it all yourself, but for an investment in an A player, it's going to be worth your while. And I know it's like, and Alyssa just asked a good question, and I'm going to let you answer that.
No, I just wanted to put it up there as a reminder because we're going to come back to this because I don't want to stop this treadmill we're on right now.
Good.
Go ahead. Keep on going.
Okay. It's just take what you're doing, take all the tasks that you're doing, and say, okay, what's irritating, what's okay, and what is my zone of genius? What is it that my genius comes in and I'm like, I can do this all the time? And that's where you want to focus your attention and look at the other things and say, how do I get to? Not tomorrow, go out and hire a VA for the cheapest price from wherever, but go find somebody, a job description. This is what I need. This is what I'm looking for. This is what my expectations are. It's like I learned way back when, a job list, a job description, job breakdown and performance standards. This is what I expect. And that takes a little bit of work to put it out there. And then you go out and put it out and you find somebody, and the amount, let's say somebody is like $50 an hour. I'm throwing out whatever the number. I'm not going to judge it as high or low, but depending on who's listening, let's say it's $50 an hour, and you're like, well, okay, I could probably come up with 3 or 4 hours a week. What could that 3 or 4 hours do with that person whose genius is only $50 an hour?
Exactly.
And
you're right. And this brings me back to this is why I've been saying that I've known this for a long time. I haven't practiced it. I'll be the first one to put my hand up, but I've known about it for a long time and I've understood it. With my very first mastermind, and it was John Assaraf, and I'm saying that name for both credibility and just whatever. Because anyway, but it was, I want to give him credit.
You have a picture with John.
I do,
Okay,
but anyway, it was very profound because I asked him 2 questions. One of the very first questions I asked him was like, dude, like, how do I tell me 2 things? One on a business level, one on a personal level, and what's the biggest thing that you can tell me about a business, like how to grow a business? And he said, find people that play in the thing that you hate to do. I'll say it again. I'll say it again. Find people who love to play in the thing that you hate to do. And that is basically get A players that live and breathe and sleep and do the thing that you just hate to do. It's their zone of genius. He didn't use those words, but he told me that over a decade ago. And like, holy crap, that is like profound. Because at that point I was like, just starting the online business and all this stuff. And I was coming from, the regular entrepreneurial thing of every hat in the world. Yeah. And I'm like, wow. So I've known about it for over a decade, haven't done really anything about it until the last, now year coming into play. But I wanted to put that out there for everyone to really understand and hear that.
Joey, take a couple of these. There's something with my connection. I'm going to jump. I got to refresh. Something's going on with my.
I know it's not me because it's on.
Okay, I know.
Good. All right. Okay. So Alisa, this is a great question. The zone of genius and zone of excellence is one about love. I would say yes, that I wouldn't have phrased it that way, but you're right. One is about love. The zone of genius is fascinating things. It's the stuff you love to do that you will never get tired of. Like this, like I can talk about marketing or talk about dream clients and copywriting like all day long, and I'll never get tired of it. I just love it. I love problem solving. Believe it or not, I could sit and hear somebody talk about problems all day long and try to help them. That's my zone of genius, is jumping into someone's world, listening to the problems and trying to solve it. So what is it for you? And the zone of excellence The excellence is stuff that you're good at doing, you're okay at doing, but you don't love it. And there's a huge difference because not only are we as entrepreneurs stuck in the stuff we hate to do, which is the irritating things, the stuff like an irritating thing is bookkeeping. Anything that has to do with accounting, bookkeeping, anything, any numbers is irritating to me. Okay, that's the thing. I'm not even good at it. I can get by, but it irritates the hell out of me. Now, a good thing, something coming to mind would be Facebook ads. Like I'm pretty good at Facebook ads. I don't mind doing them and I could do it, but why I don't want to do it, right? I don't love doing them at all. That's just one example. There's probably another one will come to me, but that's what I'm saying is that zone of excellence that you're good at doing them still doesn't advance your business because there's someone better that can do, in my example, Facebook ads than me. I can understand them. Or here's another example. Updating my website, like going into Kajabi and doing the Kajabi work in the website stuff. Like I know how to do it. I'm really good at it. I know how to quote unquote program to a degree, but it's not something that I should be doing, even though I'm pretty good at technical stuff. I hope that makes sense. If you got any more questions about that, please bring them up.
No, that makes sense, Joey, and I'll jump on that too. Yeah, I've got Kajabi, and I spent like 8 months learning Kajabi, and Gail Cassidy was in the mastermind that we did, where I got to learn it. I'm really good at it, and I can build all kinds of stuff. But guess what? I It irritates me because the page builder and this and the thing jumps all over the place, and I'm like, I don't want to do this.
Hmm.
There's plenty of people out there that I can hire to do that. Like you said with Facebook, there's so many people that I've got that can do things better than me, and that's their superpower.
Right,
How would
right.
yeah, sure, I can like create a video, but I've got some creators that do incredible stuff. Well,
Yeah.
there's so many different facets of a business that if we looked at it and if we said, okay, going just a simple ABC again, Joey. What irritates me and what's okay, and who could possibly do it for me? Even if it's just one of the things that you look at, and maybe it's prospecting, maybe it's the gatekeeper, maybe it's somebody does the initial interview, so you don't have to waste 30 minutes to an hour. Whatever it is, look at those tasks, and as you said, find an A player because I equate it with I don't like cleaning my house. There are people who just take great pride in cleaning a house.
That's right. Yeah, I
And
agree. And they're great at it. They know how to do things that you and I would never think of doing
I don't,
on how
yeah,
to clean it.
and they do it. They have a passion for it. And to me, it's like, my friends come over and go, I'm going to clean your kitchen for you. I'm like, okay, have at it. Because it's not clean according to them. I was like, okay, find somebody to clean my kitchen. And I'm not.
I
There's
want
just, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, on this topic of because I think we're gonna get really in this zone of the irritating because it's probably the zone where a lot of us are. And there's another aspect to this, to the business side of it, where this is where the most growth has come for me in the past 2 years of this irritating thing. And that comes down to what are the things in your business methodologies or ways of doing things of industry standards that irritate you. And that for me, as you know, and pretty much everybody here who's in my tribe knows that how I've um ripped myself away from the standard methods because they irritate me, not because there's anything wrong with them, not because they don't work. It's because they irritate me. And this is what I really want to bring to the surface as well for anybody listening, that if you're inside of a quote unquote sandbox of somebody else, that it's irritating you, the sand is getting in your eyes and you're like, I don't like this, then it's time to remove yourself and create your own sandbox. And that is, once I figured that out, again, giving all the credit to Dan, I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't all just has to, this doesn't only have to be about delegating someone's work and paying someone else to do these things. It's also about how am I running the business and the things that I'm doing that irritate me. And as you know, it was all the funnels, it was the sales page thingies and all the things. And once I removed those irritating things and clarity calls and all those things, my business exploded.
Mhm.
Why? Because I went from the irritating models, again, no disrespect to anybody doing them or any programs or any of my good colleague friends of whatever, but it wasn't for me. And when I removed those things, it went down into the fascinating things like, wow, this is really great. I love having conversations or chat conversations or something like this. I love being in my group and talking about things, whatever, and engaging in my group and seeing the bonds happening and the relationships there and talking about those things. Those are things that fascinate me. And lo and behold, the business exploded.
Mhm.
So it's not just about, if you're listening to this, hiring somebody else to do it. That's a huge part of it. But it's also, I challenge you to look at your business and think going into 2022 is, what are the things that I'm doing just because someone else is doing them? And do they irritate me?
Mhm.
Or am I kind of good at it, but do they fascinate you? And if they don't fascinate you, then I would consider changing them. Your thoughts, Scott?
I'm in full agreement with you. Is it goes to our creative zone and Big Magic. I love that book, and it's when the genius decides to come and visit me, I want to be full on. I want to be doing. I want to be creating a funnel. I want to be creating an offer. I want to be creating the next thing. I want to be thinking about how do I help the people in my community, in my tribe, and my creators, and all the people. Today, I was on a call with one of our creators, and this, and it was like I haven't had time to sit with them and figure out, okay, how do I market and promote you? How do I help you get your stuff out there in a way that you don't know how to? That to me is fascinating, is figuring that out and looking at somebody's product, service, brand, and just hearing one thing and saying, this is the angle, this is the hook, this is what it's going to be. And right now, in doing what I do, there's a lot of things that I do that are irritating and okay. But you have to do some of those. There's a juggling act. It, but if you're trying to do all of them, that's where you're not going to get into that zone of
Well,
the.
okay, I'm gonna jump in here because, like what you said, is you're right. Like there are things that we do that are irritating that we have to do. But what again? This is again using Dan's ideas of like every 90 days. It's a great opportunity for us to eliminate the thing that's irritating you. At least one thing that's irritating you, because if you're continually doing that, all you're doing is continually irritating yourself. So there's a part that is like, okay, I need to put up with this for now, and but that for now, at least for me, it's been decades of like, well, I just got to do it for now, right? And now I've just in the past 2 years is like, this has got to stop. Like if I don't do it now, it's only going to continue to be a for now, right? And the other part I want to bring up is that the irritating things that we do teach us something. Okay, Facebook ads taught me something. Whatever it was, bookkeeping taught me something that not only this I hate doing this, but also now I can speak to my bookkeeper and accountant in a logical, adult way and understand it to a degree, but let them do their thing. So the irritating things are teaching moments, but they're not something that we should, in my mind, continue to absorb and do just because we're used to doing them.
Yeah, I like the example you gave, Joey. I don't like accounting. I know how to do it. I learned it in school. I know how to read a P&L and a balance sheet, and I understand all of that. But when it comes to putting it all together at the end of the year, no, I've got my guy that is so good at it. Then why would I? And yeah, so he's a few $100 an hour. But at the end of the day, at the end of the year, when everything has to be done in that, I don't have to. Here's all the records. Here's everything. It's all done. I got all my spreadsheets and information from everywhere. Go do what it's supposed to do, and then tell me what's next.
Well, I'll give you another example of this because I'm also a real estate investor, right? And I've built my business based on everything we're talking about here. So I
Right.
don't even know why, like, I don't really reference this to myself more than I'm doing right now, but I should. And what I did is I built an entire team to do everything. So like, property manager is a big one for me. So I know how to change a toilet. I can paint. I'm a pretty darn good painter. All these little things I can do. I'm not a great handyman. I can't really do woodwork and all that. But anyway, I can do the maintenance things if I really had to. And I pay, I don't know, anywhere from $150 to $200 per property per month for somebody to handle everything that has to do with the tenants, right? And and man, my ADD is crazy because there's so many things I want to talk about here. But the first part is that I rarely have any problems, and that goes back to the dream tenant. So you can know where why I'm referencing that.
Yep.
So it was
Yeah.
I pay a lot of attention to get the right person in to the property in the first place, not just let me get the thing rented and then that gives problems. So I just wanted to reference that. That's why my ADD went off there. So the first thing is, so when I'm talking about this in front of real estate investors, they're like, so you're paying somebody $200 for to do nothing, basically. I go, yeah. And they're like, why would you do that? I go, because I'm paying for sleep. That's
Yeah.
basically what I'm doing. So that $200 is worth me sleeping every single night. Is that not worth it to you? And they're like, I never looked at it that way.
Exactly. They look at it as an expense,
Right.
not as a stress reliever, a peace provider,
Yeah.
because that's what it does.
And that's exactly now in our online business, just like what
Yeah.
Netta said here, that she hates tech and she has a genius helping her. Brilliant. That's what we're talking about. And
Yeah.
Dan hated working on cars. Genius wife said, why don't you give the work to someone else who loves working on cars, so you can do what you love. Exactly. Right.
There are people that love cars, taking them apart, putting them together, doing everything, listening to them. That's their superpower. That's their genius. That's their area of expertise. I, you know, I like to turn the key on and it goes. That's it. I'm good.
Same here. It's funny thing that we're talking about cars. A little cute little story. I know nothing about cars, nothing about it. But here's the thing: when I went bought my very first car, it was a Camaro, and I went to the dealership, and the
Wait a
guy,
second. No
huh?
way.
Yeah, this will
No,
come back to what you're saying. It's so
no,
funny.
Joey. My first car was a Camaro that I bought.
No,
I when I was growing up, first of all, my older brother built. He got a '69 Camaro Z28, and he redid the whole thing in the garage.
yeah.
I helped him do that like all the time. I didn't love it, but it was something to do with my older brother in the garage, blah, blah, blah. Years later, when I bought my first car, it was a Camaro. Go.
Well, there's 2 points to this story that's gonna relate to what we're talking about in business. One is the genius of the salesperson who was with me, and this will come around in a second as I tell you this little story. And 2 is the fact that, what I don't love. Okay, so I go and buy this car, or we're gonna buy the car. Dude takes me out on a run, right? And let's drive the car. And the first thing he does before he takes it out, he opens the hood, and he starts telling me about the whole engine and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like a deer in the headlights. I have no idea what he's talking about. And I'm like, yeah, good.
Mhm.
All I
Yeah,
want to do is drive it, right?
right.
He's like, okay, right. So he's telling me about all the things. And so this is the prejudice, right? That I'm a guy and I know all this stuff. I'm supposed to like it and
Yeah,
all these things. He's talking about whatever is under there. I'm like, okay, dude. So then we get in the car, we drive, and he's still telling me about whatever, the rack and pinion steering or whatever it is, all the things that are going on. And I'm like, I don't really care.
yeah,
So this is where now that's the first part of the story. Like, I really don't care because there could be a gerbil under there and I really don't care. Uh, and then I guess he picked up on it. He picked up on like he doesn't really care about anything I'm talking about. So he takes me to a Wendy's, a drive-through Wendy's. Okay. We go through the drive-through, and then he tells me to park in a specific spot. He goes, "Okay, just go over there and park right over there for a second." Um, I got a drink or two in the Wendy's. So we park in this area, and it's under the huge lights, in the parking lot under the huge lights. He goes, get out of the car for a second. I want to show you something. I go, okay, whatever. So he gets out of the car. He makes me stand back in front of the car, and the thing is like on a show. It's like on a show thingy, right? The whole lighting is lighting up the car, and he goes, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Because that's all I care about. I just care about how the thing looks, right?
yeah,
But I didn't say that, but he picked up on it. He
yeah,
goes, "Look at the way that thing looks. Isn't that amazing?" I'm like, "Wow, wow!" And I bought it, and it
yeah.
was, and it was like, so it's like a cool little thing about like my zone of genius is just let me make the car. I want a car that looks really really good, and then the genius of the dude who said, "This guy doesn't care about this thing. I'm going to pick up on this and then sell me exactly what I wanted."
Here we go. You ready?
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. He fished. It's for sure. But
I'm reeling you back in, Joe.
I was
Bringing
fishing.
you back in.
What? It was a pertinent story. This is
No,
a
it was
pertinent
a
story.
pertinent story, Mr. ADHD off the charts this evening. I'm okay with it. I love it. I
All right,
take it you answered Elisa's question on the difference between the zone of excellence and the zone of genius.
we did. So there's something that I actually learned from the book thingy. I can delegate. It was mind blowing. Nice,
Yeah.
nice. You're welcome. And what do you delegate in your business, Joey? I am beginning to delegate the now. What did I just say? The bookkeeping part of it, which is amazing. And that's pretty much it at this point that I'm delegating. I'm working on that for 2022. I know Scott does more, so why don't you tell everyone what you delegate?
Well, I delegate the organization and structure of projects once I figure it out. I delegate the creation of our monthly assets and the keywording of it for our membership in behind the scenes VIP studio. I delegate anything that somebody else can do. I delegate the training. I used to do the training. Now I've got people that do the training for me as far as the video creation training. Why? Because they're so much better than me. Why would I mess around with it when I've got people who do amazing training and I watch and do, and then I figure out what's the offer or what's the next piece of it. And it would be foolish for me because I dabble in it. It's not my superpower. Can I make a great video? Yeah. Do I have all the tools to make it? Yeah. Do I know how to use it all? Yeah. At the end of the day, for me to spend 5, 8, 10, 12 hours, it's ridiculous when I could be out doing something with my superpower, with my zone of genius and excellence, which is really important because I started this journey in the video thing by seeing a video and saying, I want to do that. And I learned how to do it. And I learned that. Don't get me wrong, I love making them. It's just so time consuming. And when
Yeah,
you,
that's your zone of excellence. You can do them, but it's like you shouldn't be doing them. You
that's
know,
not my zone of genius.
right,
I have 3 people right now, are creators that I can go say, I need you to do this for me, and
right.
they'll do it.
And by the way, I forgot about one of the things that I do delegate in terms of the video is our good friend Gord, who does my
Oh
clip
yeah,
videos, and he's
brilliant.
an excellent person at that. So Monica, that's the other thing that I've learned to delegate. And here's a good reason why we're talking about this too, because Gord is an A player. Like he knows
Oh yeah,
he can do video and all that kind of stuff way better than I can, and probably better than you, Scott. I don't know, but
yeah,
it's but it was at the point where like I was looking for video editors for a long time. Remember, Scott? We would talk
yeah,
about this on
oh
our
yeah,
mastermind,
yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, I can get a video editor. That's not a problem,
Right.
but I need somebody who's in my head, who's a part of who is that just take my brain and then edit, and that's where Gord comes in for me, and that's where an A player comes in, because I don't have to teach him. I don't have to say, here's okay, let me look at the video, let me double
Right.
check it, let me do all this other stuff, and that's just so important. And he's taken a whole big part of my business off of my hands, and it's brilliant.
Well, it's like copy. I'll write the copy, but I don't want to build the page
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's not my thing. I love writing copy. I love looking at businesses and coming up with all that stuff. And like personal things, I don't want to wait online to get my oil changed. I don't want to get my car inspected. I want somebody to do that for me, and I'm willing to pay for it because it's like, I mentioned to you, uh, there's a few things in life that really irk me. And one of them is disrespecting my time. And that comes in making me wait on hold, making me wait online. I'm like, why would I waste any time in my life when I could do something else? And
Yep.
that's where the A players come in. It's like, well, okay, I could have Karen do this and get my new phone and get this and get the car taken care of and get the place cleaned and pay her 25, $30 an hour. And she just does all that and it's effortless. Why would I do that when that hour could be worth 10 times that?
Yeah,
Or
but those are tasks that which are important to do.
right,
What's more important, I think, in the conversation really is about like the things that you do every single week
Right.
that you're stuck in or you're doing in excellence and thinking that, well, this is part of my business, right?
Right.
That's what we need to move away from, which is really where I see a whole bunch of people get stuck, including myself. And once we understand to pull away from all of that, because a lot of us are stuck in busyness. It's like,
Yeah.
it's busy, and all it's doing is taking away your confidence. All it's doing is you're wasting energy by being busy. And I remember one of my clients, very first clients, she was wearing the busy badge of honor. That's what she called it.
Yep.
And I'm like, what is it doing for you? Like, you're just walking around saying how busy you are. Is your business getting any better? No. And she was actually going bankrupt. So I
Yep.
pulled her out of bankruptcy just because we pulled out of get out of busyness.
Yeah,
Busyness
Joey,
is not cool.
one of the things that I've just recently delegated is my Facebook group. Now, mine's totally different than yours because yours is relying on you, and I come in and play from time to time. And mine is I've got two brilliant people who are more brilliant than I am because why they're doing that thing all the time, every day. They're using my software more than I use it. Well, I want them in there helping people, talking to them.
Yeah, well,
Somebody
that makes sense.
that makes sense. But there was a while where I was like, crap, I haven't checked the Facebook messages today, and I got to reply to this. And you hear how I'm even saying it. It's like, yeah, I can't wait to log in and see who made a comment so I can reply to them. It's like I jump in there, I like things in that. You've heard me say I spend more time in our group than I do in my own.
I hear you.
But it's a whole different animal because that's about supporting people in that. It's not about what happens in the club, which is a whole different thing. But again, I looked at it and said, this is irritating. I don't really like doing it. And then I finally found two people to take my place.
That's awesome.
And that's always been my philosophy in anything I've done is I want to fire myself.
Right.
How do I get to the point where
Well, that's what I mean by, at these guys, they fired themselves from the business.
yeah,
They don't do anything. I
no,
remember that one of them was you're talking to somebody and they were at an event. They were hosting this huge event. And one dude said, like, dude, I've been talking to you now, like they went to the event, I've been talking to you now for like an hour. Shouldn't you be, doing something behind the scenes? They're like, no, this is what I do. I
yeah,
talk to people and build relationships. That's all I
yeah.
do. So
Well,
everybody else was doing all of the stuff. I'm like, what? And
yeah,
then that one blew me when I'm like, wow, okay,
yeah.
cool. If I could just do that, that'd be amazing, right?
You talk about events. I was one of the keynote speakers for a while for Internet ISIS, the International Society of Event Specialists, in teaching event specialists how to do that and be better marketers and all that. And I knew some of the best event planners on the planet. And my friends are event planners. When it comes to doing an event, I teach it. I know how to do it. Guess who does the event? Not me. Guess who takes care of everything? Not me. Like
Right.
you said, I show up and I do my thing. You show up. They show up and they just be them because there's A players who are behind the scenes making everything happen. You are the puppet master. That's
Yeah.
what we have to learn to do is be the puppet master because if we're doing the dance ourselves rather than coordinating it and choreographing it, then we're losing. We're missing out on. We haven't even talked about the establishing of these friendships, relationships, partnerships, friends, colleagues. That it's like, hey, I need your help.
Yeah.
And it may not. And again, we've talked about having a board of advisors as well. That to me is one of the most powerful things that I did, and I started that from Elsom. Elsom taught me that probably, gosh, 30 years ago.
Right. Right.
Was because then there's people that it's like a same thing with a mastermind, Joey. We everybody brings their own genius to the mastermind, and
Yep.
you don't know what you're going to hear or what. And if we just start looking at, and you always make it so simple, Joey, and I always make it so complicated, but that's why we like each other. Because just ABC. If you just woke up or right now sat with a pad and listed all the things you do on a daily, weekly basis that you have to do or are frustrated with and say, you know what? Just categorize them and say, here's all the stuff is fascinating and I love it. Great. How do I spend more time doing that? And those okay, irritating things, how do I slowly move towards getting it off of my plate? And
Yeah.
you said when we talked about this a while ago, that was a challenge for you to start to move toward that. And it just doesn't happen. You don't wake up and say, okay, I'm going to turn all this over to somebody. It's a process. You know that Tabitha's been with me for 10 years. And I am so fortunate and lucky and blessed. And the team that I built in the company now, I'm really grateful for it. It didn't happen overnight. You know, during my alpha of the video software and then beta, I watched, I identified, I saw who was doing what and who was responding. And you build that over time to the point where you tell them what to do. This is exactly how it should be done. Then, because I know a lot of people like, I got to do it myself. Nobody can do it like I can.
Yeah,
Nobody
that's the biggest block for everybody, and I agree.
just,
You know, and here's the thing that I want to really bring up. One is that I want, first of all, a challenge for everybody watching, whether live or on the replay, is to drop in the chat or in the comments, like, what is the one irritating thing that you can think of now that you want to eliminate in the next 90 days? And here's why I'm saying this, because as Dan says, and it basically says that growth begins by telling the truth. And that goes levels deep. If you really understand what that means, your business will grow in like you've never seen it grow before. And that means, in my mind, right now in this conversation, is that it's about telling the truth to yourself,
right.
right? It's like that's what it is, and we don't want to do that. A lot of times because we're stuck in what you just said. No, nobody can do that better than me. No, you're kind of BSing yourself.
Yeah.
Like there's people who can do everything better than you can do, except for your zone of genius.
Well, Joey, and I'm going to go into, I talked about that quantum hypnosis healing session that I did a few weeks ago. And one of the things that came out of it was the conversation that I actually had during that was my higher self source and my subconscious talking to this guy, this person that was there. And I realized that me, Scott, the ego, was not involved in that conversation, because that's the challenge when ego comes in. And we've had this conversation in private over the last couple of weeks, where the ego will jump in and say, well, that's why would I can. And Netta made a good statement here that I'd like you to put up.
Yeah, so we're going to go back into some of the comments here. So first of all, she was saying way before I asked that even the challenge was that posting in groups irritates her a bit, which is amazing. And I'm just going to rip through some of these comments and get down to the bottom here. Scott didn't know they made Camaros in the.
Thanks, Dan.
I had to put that one in there. So,
yeah.
And then Lorna, here's the car story. When it was time to update my car, my husband insisted I talk with the sales guy. It's so true. Vark Tech, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. But you still, is this the one you're talking about? But you still have to learn how to do the things before you discover that they are not your zone of genius. Yes, that's true. That's exactly true.
That's true with most things. Okay. I don't need to learn how to trademark and register and patent and figure out all the legalities with domain names and
True.
IP properties. I kind of need somebody to tell me, who is an expert, called an attorney or an advisor, and I need to understand it. But Ned is right. When years ago I had created a hypnosis directory, and we sold different levels, and we also sold them something else. Go figure, huh? It was, I'm going to teach you how to sell your products and services and build an affiliate platform for you. And it was called Affiliate Products and Services. I had to figure out how to build the whole thing first, because nobody had built one. And then after I figured it out, I created a process and a system that I could say, here, go through this step by step by step by step. Same thing is training on how to use your program, your product, the biggest challenge I see with most people in anything is they don't teach people how to consume what they've just purchased. And that goes to what Ned is saying. Well, if you're not good at doing training videos, then hire somebody to do a training video.
Yeah, but to her point, like, this is where I understand, like, there's people who I've spoken to before where they believe that they should not be doing anything they don't like or learn things. And I don't agree with that at all,
Right.
because it's kind of like, I'll give an example of WordPress. WordPress is like, I'm again in my zone of excellence in WordPress. I
Oh, yeah.
can do enough damage to blow up my WordPress site, right?
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
also put it up. But I needed to learn it in order for me to be able to talk the language and or hire programmers. So not only can I tell them what I need them to do, but I can also, when somebody's screwing me, like,
Right.
oh really? It's taking you 14 hours to
Right.
do a blog post?
Right.
I remember it only took me 15 minutes.
Right.
What's the difference here?
And Joey, the same thing. I built 67 WordPress sites over the years, and that
Yeah,
was one of the things I did. I won't build one now, but guess what? When I go into somebody, a friend, a colleague, a business, and they're like, "Do you know anything about WordPress?" I'm like, "Yeah, what do you want to know?"
right.
Blah blah blah. Okay, let me get somebody to do that for you. I'll oversee it. I'll help you with the copy and the concept, but I ain't going to build it because I
Yeah,
have a
we had this conversation just what, last week, about S3.
yeah,
Remember? You
yeah,
asked me about S3, and I'm like, okay, I know enough. Here's the
right,
answer I got. But if you want me to do any programming or something like that beyond that,
yeah,
go to Mr. Google. But I know enough to,
right.
to start the conversation or to point somebody in the direction or have a intelligent conversation, right? And that's what you're talking about.
Yep, a lot more comments coming, Joey.
So I know that I was missing part two, but I wanted to get to the other comment there. So part two, I decided on the car, and he started showing me all the things that most people want to know. He stopped when I told me I wanted
I
it
think it was when
because
I told him.
when I told him I wanted because the color matched my eyes. See, they know, like, just okay, shut up. That's that's
Shut
another
up.
that's a whole other conversation. Is like, when you've made the sale, shut up. And I'm
Shut
not
up.
good at that. I'm not good at that. I'm like,
Okay, you ready? It's going
oh
to cost you 25 grand. I need 10 grand now. You good? Okay, excellent. Thanks. Here's the payment. We'll
yeah,
talk.
and then go on and on. So let me tell you what.
Let me tell you this and that. With all the things we do and how we do it and that. No, send the money.
These are
Branding,
the things that
graphic,
people hate to do, I guess. Branding, graphic, Batista.
Grimaud.
Do you know what that means?
I have no clue, Dan. Would you enlighten us?
Posting on social media. That's very cool.
That's scale again. Yeah.
The So Me makings in Canva, picture taking. I feel like a total waste of time. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So these are the things, if you're writing these down, that you want to gravitate in the next 90 days by April 1st, okay, to eliminate who. And this goes back to what we talked about before. Who's the who? Like, who can do this for me? Because there's somebody who can do it for you, somebody who can do it better. And even if it costs you a little bit of extra money, take my word for it. I'm telling you, coming from the depths of being so stubborn about this in the last decade or so of not doing this, that it's going to
Wait,
grow
you're
your
you're
business.
stubborn, Joey? Come on. No
Only
way.
a little bit.
Joey, let me make a point here with what Teen said here. And it's kind of like a little tip here. If you're like, for example, Teen, if Teen's looking for somebody to do something in Canva, go to Fiverr. Write up your job as though you were hiring somebody and see what their feedback is going to be. Like I used to go to Fiverr and hire people to do little things way back when, before I got A players, because I didn't have any money. And I would specifically write, this is exactly what I need. And they would come back and we go back and forth until I was like, okay, you're the one. If you're looking for something, go to Upworks, go to Fiverr, put it out there, write up what you're looking for, the job list, the job description, the performance standards, the job breakdown.
I have another tip for you along that line too. If you're looking for the design work, another area to go to is 99 Designs,
Yeah,
because what they'll do for you, Teen, is you say, I'm looking for a logo, and you'll get all these people who will do logos for you, and then you pick the one that you like, and it's a lot easier than it might be easier, I should say, not a lot easier. It might be easier to get what you want. But if you're looking for somebody to continually work with, then it's the other way, like a
right.
Canva, not a Canva, an
No,
Upwork or a Fiverr. But
right.
just the designers, like, go to 99
Yeah,
Design and have somebody do it, and they all kind of bid for the design and show you the thing before you even pay for it. Collie, judging my
juggling
passion. Go ahead, you read that one for me, Scott, please.
juggling my passion with doing work I do to earn the money that I am grateful for to pay my responsibilities in life. And believe me, I have scaled back on unnecessary, but with the way things went sideways, even with scaling down and going for a tiny home, that has sucked my energy big time. And so now,
I guess there's a second part coming.
no, it's a good opening loop. It's like, what? So now what? What? Tell us,
Wow.
please.
You know what?
We're out of time. Sorry. No.
I am actually writing that last piece down because and so now is a huge open loop transition thing
That
I'm
is
going to steal
beautiful.
from you, Collie.
Thank you, Collie.
That is amazing. And so now dot 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 talk to you tomorrow in tomorrow's email.
Talk to you tomorrow. And so now here.
Wow. That is so cool.
See, we learned so much on these calls.
So what we're talking about, if you're just joining us, is the ABC model that I've been inspired through Dan Sullivan, and he calls there's these three areas of doing work in your business, which is the A is the irritating things, B are the okay things. Those are the things that you're pretty good at doing, but you definitely should not be doing those. And the fascinating is the C part of it, which is the stuff that you love to do, your zone of genius and all that. And most of us are stuck in the A part, and which is the irritating things because we think that nobody can do them because we've done them forever. But those are the challenges to get out of those as fast as possible. And that's what we're talking about today. And we've also talked about the zone of genius and the zone of excellence, which are kind of the two things, which is basically Dan's B, which is zone of excellence, the stuff you can do.
Right.
And then zone of genius is the C. But I thought it was profound by, I do a lot of zone of excellence stuff. What about you?
Yeah, lately the last few months has been zone of excellence, not as much zone of genius.
What is your zone of genius?
My zone of genius is looking at pretty much any kind of product, service, message, and looking at how to put it together that makes sense for people to go on that journey. And what are the steps in the journey, and what do they have to do along the line of the journey? And writing the copy to take people on that journey. I mean, you can say that here's the journey. I believe that to me, my zone of genius is creating that journey, building it, getting other people to perfect it, and then making it more efficient. And I haven't been in that zone. I've been too busy zone of excellence, building, 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 building.
Yeah, so you've been in the busyness part of it.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if I wasn't, then you couldn't pick on me. And so I have to do things that will pick on you, that will cause you to pick on me and challenge me and make me read more books.
I'll read actually a statement here that I grabbed from Dan's note. If because you just talked about being in the busyness, if you master the busyness and pack your schedule with activities, Scott, your life is going to become incredibly more complex. That's when you're stuck in the busyness and work.
Yes.
First thing you have to do is get a handle on time and stop treating yourself like a machine. Scott, anybody listening? I'm just picking on Scott.
Not anybody listening. No names mentioned.
I'm Scott. Like honestly, bro, I love you.
No,
I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to the guy sitting beside you.
Joey, you're fine. It's the other Scott. It's my old.
Yeah, I'm not speaking.
The other guy. It's not this guy that shows up. And Joey, I'm with you, and you're going to be pushing me throughout this whole thing until I get to the point where all I do is yoga every day.
Right.
That is my zone of genius, is hanging out in the yoga studio and playing with yoga. And I do that every day. And I also play with this other thing. Is it the way it should be? No. Is it screwed up at times? Hell yeah. Is it a rough ride? Oh, you better believe it. Am I learning crap every day and figuring it out? Yep.
Yeah, it's something that we're always going to be evolving, and it's kind of like it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't like happen overnight, and it doesn't shut off. It doesn't mean that, hey, this time everything's delegated. Now what do I do? Because I mean, I'm kind of, as we talk about that too, that's another area where it's a weird place to be. It's not that I've been able to delegate a lot of the stuff, but now I don't have a lot of stuff to delegate anymore.
Right.
There's still things, but I'm in that place where like, now what do I do? Like, what do I do with this time I have?
Well,
right.
Joe, and I'm interrupting. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you talk I had a friend who I identified a challenge with, and I said two words, profit first. And I sent her the link to yours because you created what you did on Profit First to show people how to not do. Because I said, you're probably have one account, you pay your bills, you pay your taxes, you pay yourself, and everything comes out of that one account. She's like, uh-huh. I
Hmm.
said, that's doing things that are irritating or okay when, well, what if you set this thing up and then you did it with your account and everything was it? It'd be like, now when the money comes rolling in, you know, it's not like, well, gosh, I got money in the bank, so I might as well buy the new thing. And but without getting too deep into it, that's just another example of. And one of the things, Joey, that's really important here is we're all on this incredible journey of learning, of knowledge, of wisdom. And your genius, one of them is your ability to just constantly take content, pull out what's necessary, what's good, and put it out here. Simple. I read the whole book by Dan Sullivan. I'm going to talk about ABC and the two zones. That's it. I don't need to tell you about the whole book. These are the important things to get to. And when we start to realize that we don't know what's unavailable, we don't know the thing we don't know.
Yeah.
To me, one of the basic tenets, foundations of what we do is they don't know what they don't know. They might know they have a problem, but they don't know what the solution, the answer, and that's where our jobs come in. And when you do that, then their life changes. Then the transformation begins. And that's where you need to focus your geniuses on the transformation, because that's what they're going to pay for.
Yeah, and I think that when you live in your fascinating um, activities, it's such a different it's just a different thing. I when let's go back to bookkeeping again because this is one area that I'm still looking for the A player and all this stuff.
Right,
I am in a place where I can get it done relatively quickly,
right,
and I've got a lot of stuff to do. Like there's a million accounts, like with the real estate
right.
accounts and all this other stuff. So, but I have to get into the zone in my mind in order to do it because it irritates me, and I get in a bad mood, and I don't want to talk about it. But once I'm in the zone, I don't want to stop. Okay, so but here's the reason I'm saying this is my bookkeeping usually goes for anywhere between 3 to 6 months that I don't do it.
Right.
But it's to a point where it's like so repetitious and a system to it that I can spend 3 days and get it all done. Okay, that's and I'm not advocating that because that's not a that's not a good thing to do.
Right.
But it's to that point. And the only reason I'm telling you that is because A, I'm avoiding it as much as possible. B is when I'm most of my life is spent now in my zone of genius.
Mhm.
Well, I shouldn't say that because I'm lying. I just said that most of it is in a zone of excellence, but I am spending a lot of time in the zone of genius now, and pushing away the irritating part of it, right? Um, and what I can tell you is that by being in those two zones of of the zone of genius is an amazing place to be. And even though the excellence pieces are there, I'm more identifying like what are those excellent things that I do, and the list has gotten smaller, which is great because I spend way more time in the excellence of the zone of genius and have reduced the business to the way how do I spend more time doing that, which is what elite is all about, which is what
Right.
marketing copy, which is what right all of those
It's
programs are
called right
built around
marketing
my
copy.
genius,
Just so
right?
you know, it's called right marketing copy.
Right, marketing copy.
That's the name of the program. Yeah.
But that's why, and every time I talk about those inside the groups, and I tell the group, I go, guys, I just want you to have a business that feels this way. I never connected the dots because you can only connect them backwards,
Connected
right?
forward. Right.
I never connected it to
Yeah.
I'm really living my zone of genius, but that's what I really want them to do.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not the business part of it is great, but I'm really looking toward having someone else, all of them, experience their zone of genius by doing the thing in their business, by loving what they're doing. Because there's a difference, right?
Yeah.
Because you can you could love what you do, or you could do what you love. There's a difference, right? Do you agree with that?
Totally. I mean, you
What?
could go on.
No, I was just going to say, what is your definition between the two? Like, what is your? How do you define them?
Between loving what you do and doing what you love,
Yeah.
doing what you love to me is taking your life purpose, your passion, your deep, your joy, your happiness, your bliss, and doing it. Loving what you do is different. That's like I do this and I kind of love it, as opposed to the other. Is that what you think? Is that how
I
you look
I
at it?
flip. I would say the opposite. Like
Okay,
I would say when you love what you do, you get up and do it because you love it. And when you do what you love, it's because, hey, I kind of love that. It's pretty cool. But you could deal. You don't have to get up and do it. Like it
right,
would be like if you got up and do it and you didn't do it, you're like whatever. But you get up every morning to love what you do.
right.
Like I get up every morning
Yeah,
and just love. I can't wait to turn on Zoom
right.
and talk to people. I just
Yeah,
love it.
yeah.
And that's not doing what I love. I think it's loving what I do.
Okay.
That's the way I look at it from that perspective. But we're on the same page. We're just
Well, okay,
naming it
for
differently.
example, I do yoga because I love it. I love what I do when I get on with people. I love it. I love, like you, I love getting on Zoom. I love talking to people. I love helping people. I love creating things.
Right. So there you go. So like you love creating things, but you do
Yeah.
yoga because you love it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And that's the difference.
Yeah. That's a whole nother show in itself.
Yeah,
Doing what you love.
exactly. But it's kind of what we're talking about here. Like,
It is, but it's all what we're talking about, Joey. And I think it's really important for everyone on the call that's live and everyone's listening to the replay is to say, okay, not like, okay, that was good and that was some good ideas, and let me go back to my life of busyness. It's
yeah.
what is the first thing? I look at you and I've watched you over the past 2 years gravitate to getting up and doing what you love to do and loving what you do, and you've eliminated the other things. I've watched you
Yeah.
push things away that took up your time. It's like, why what am I spending all this time doing X when I don't really need to, when I could do it? It's the whole foundation of everything you do, Joey.
Yeah. Thank you.
WMC and DCC and Elite and Atlas and VIP. All those five elements are a culmination and a combination of your zone of genius. And
Which
that's
goes
where they
back to
really
that whole sheet that you've got right beside you on that superpower matrix, right? That's
always
where this whole thing comes back to is that superpower matrix is everything that you love and are great at, right? And that you want to do. They're not your excellence. They
yeah,
are the things that you are fascinated by. Like
right,
I'm fascinated by going into a group and getting into a thread and a conversation that is
yeah,
based on copy or dream client or something.
right,
It's fascinating to me
yeah,
that I could change someone's perspective in a matter of minutes
right,
just by showing my opinion or whatever that is. And that's what I mean by recognizing by looking at what Dan was talking about is like, huh, that really is fascinating to me. And that's something that I love to do. And I know some people even on here, like I wouldn't even dream of doing that every day. Like I don't understand how you could do that every single day, right?
no,
They don't want to post in groups or whatever. Then that's cool.
yeah.
But to me, it's fascinating because part of my genius is the problem solving piece. Just
Well, Joey, it's like speaking in front
clarity.
of a group of people, whether it's on the platform or here. Most people are petrified. That's why most people don't do talking head videos and want to do animated videos
Right.
because they're not good at it. You and I, it's like I love being on the platform. I love talking to people. I love sharing and I love helping. But there's people that are no good at it or don't want to be good at it, that don't need to. Find out what you really love to do. Find your zone of genius and move towards it. And anything that falls into okay or irritating, like Netta said, find somebody that you can teach after you've learned how to do it. That goes to E-Myth Revisited. is how do you McDonaldize something? You got to figure out how to do it so good that you could teach anybody how to do it. And with these tasks, that is right. You got to learn how to do it to teach someone else, unless it's high level professional things that I'm
Right.
not going to learn how to do those. But for the most part, in our businesses, yeah, we got to figure it out. We got to go through the learning curve, or you just join one of Joey Ragona's programs, and he'll teach you how to do all of it. You don't have to worry about it. Just listen
Right.
to him. Stop fighting them.
Yeah, right. I think it's really important for everyone listening I mean, much as my dream, if you would be helping me with my life purpose, if you actually took the time to figure out what it is that irritates you,
Right.
and as opposed to the things that you're doing in your business, the the strategies, the methods, and all that, and adapt it to your zone of genius, to adapt it to the fascination. Don't get caught up in someone else's business. Don't run your business the way someone else runs theirs, including me. I'll tell you what I how and you know what Scott and I do every single Tuesday
Yeah.
is we tell you how we run our business, and maybe
Right.
you can take some ideas from it, but it doesn't mean carbon copy it. It
No, and you and I would never tell somebody you have to do it this way.
right.
Why don't you try it? This is what we've tried. This is what has worked in that situation. It may not work for you, but give it a shot. And then when you give it the shot, then what's next just comes after that. Because you tried that thing. Joey, I've launched stuff after stuff after stuff, and I look at it and I play with it, and I screwed one up. I told you last week, and then I wrote the email and this, and I rewrote the email and this, and I did her a disservice and that, and emotions and that, and played with it, and it ended up doing okay. It was a learning experience. Well, guess what? Next time, what am I going to do differently? Well, I'm going to limit the time if I'm going to make an offer, if I'm going to make a presentation, or maybe I'm not going to do it at all and just not even worry about it. Do it. It just opens up all these new opportunities when you go do it and you go through it. And as we've talked about, and I learned this one from Perry Belcher in one of his things, I was driving through Glover, Vermont. I can remember listening to it right where I was. And it was basically when I forgot totally what I was going to say. What was I saying?
Well, you had a Joey moment.
Okay. The richest place on the planet is the graveyard. And the reason for that is most people have ideas and they don't do anything with them. They're so afraid. Well, what happens if I do this and it doesn't work? Then what? What about all my dreams? What they don't realize is, well, you got to go out and whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, make mistakes, learning experiences, blah, 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 to know to put it out there. It was like the William Blake quote that I like to do is we're all born to create, just get it out there. And it doesn't matter if it's a work of art like Monica, or if it's a sock, or if it's a taco, or it doesn't matter. Once you get it out there, it takes on a life of its own and it comes back to you. And then you learn what's next and what's next and what's next. And that's the beauty of this whole conversation, is finding out what fascinates you and leaning into that. And that becomes your zone of genius, and learn it and embrace it and love it and get rid of the stuff that's irritating and okay over time. You can't just wake up tomorrow and say, okay, I'm getting rid of everything.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna work.
It was the biggest revelation for me, I'm telling you, like,
Yeah.
to get rid of the methods and strategies that did not align with me,
Right.
and it irritates me. Um,
That's
yeah,
we learn from others. That's why we are as good as we are. And I'm not saying that with conceit. We become as good. I'm talking about the product that I am. The product becomes so good because of all the books, because of all the masterminds, because of all the trainings and the workshops and the seminars and the testing and do that. We become good when we start to do it more and more and more and more.
yeah.
And the more we do, the more actualized we become. And then we realize, what is that zone that we need to be in? And we start to realize, I don't need to do that anymore. I need to really find somebody, because now I can identify it.
Brilliant way to end this 99th episode. We are going into number 100 next week. What a fitting place to be at the perfect time of the year, just after the Christmas holiday. where
Yeah.
it'll be the 28th. Am I right? That
Yes.
is number 100.
Correct.
Next Tuesday is
28.
the 28th.
100.
Just before the new year. Like, it just couldn't land better in
Yeah.
my mind.
That's how we planned it 2 years ago, right,
Yeah,
Joe?
it was all planned
Joey,
out.
let's do this and have our 100th episode on December 28th, 2021.
Oh my God. Even if we thought of that, imagine that. Imagine back then if we would have said that and think, how are we ever going to get to
Yeah.
right that? How are we ever going to do this? And that's a whole other episode,
Well, because it would
right?
have been for you, it would have been there's no way this guy is going to hang out with me for 2 years straight.
Yeah, how am I going to get him to show up every Tuesday night? How am I going to come up with topics going to come up every Tuesday night? Like how we like all those hows. This is
Yeah.
maybe that'll be the 100th episode topic is forget about the hows.
Yeah. Is anybody going to show up? Who cares?
And we didn't, remember? It was like, dude, let's just do this. And we had one or two people showing up. And now we have an awesome tribe here that show up every single Tuesday. We love you and thank you.
Collie said, amazing, absolutely amazing. All this on a solstice. December 21st, 2021 is the solstice. And
Wow.
celebrated today in the studio and throughout the world. And what a fitting way.
Wow. That is yeah, I am so grateful. I'm humbled and just honored to be part of this with you. Thank you for being here, Scott, and my partner throughout this entire journey. And it's only getting started. We, at this point, we're not going anywhere. So,
You and I have had so many talks about so many different ways and how we can grow different businesses or ideas that we haven't even touched on yet because we're both so busy doing what we're doing. And again, we didn't even hit on this piece, but the joint venture, the affiliate, the partnership, the friendship, the colleague, the relationship, that when you're in your zone, my zone, I had a champion at Marriott, and he always said, Scott, you have the ability to woo others like I've never seen. I can, like you, Joey, get on a call with anybody. And by the end of the call, we'll be best friends and we'll talk each other's language because I am genuinely interested in people. And that's a superpower. And I got on with a guy I'd never met before. And at the end of the call, he's like, you're my best friend now. You're my new best friend.
yeah.
Because again, how we go about it from the heart-centered approach. And Gail said, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you both. Same to you, Gail. Kali is much love to all. And so grateful to be part of this with you. Happy, safe holidays and blessings to your families and you. Love and soul hugs. And Joey, what an honor it is to serve with you in such a heart-centered way, to be able to get on these calls and love each other and talk and say, we love you and we love this and that. I don't know that many groups that you go into and that, you go in and you're part of a business community, a family, a tribe where it's like, let's just love each other. It doesn't
Exactly.
matter who we are and what there's no baggage here. You just bring it in and let's help you get there. That's it.
Yeah, I even remember, just to end that part of it off, like even a couple of years ago when I was in that zone of like, you have to be a certain way, thinking of ending off an email with love Joey and
Yeah.
thinking like, what are they going to think about this? And
Yeah.
now it's like, that's all we do is we just talk about loving each other and being cool. And
I mean,
the tribe is amazing.
I have a family here in my studio and I have a family online. And I have families and I call them my family and people want to be part of a family. And what I was alluding to earlier also, Joey, was go out and learn everything. Go read everything. Go see what every guru is doing. And then there's a saying in recovery world that's take what you want and leave the rest. And the same thing with what we do. Take what you want from this and leave the rest and be done with it.
You're so right. Thank you, Scott. I love you.
I love you.
I love
everybody.
you who are watching this right now. And hopefully you will be back for our 100th episode. If not, that's cool. Just join us for 101 because we're going to continue this journey and helping you with your business. And it was an awesome 99th episode. Can't wait for number 100 next week, my brother.